Imagine waking up one morning, checking your bank account, and finding that everything that you've worked for, that you've saved, has vanished, gone. Your personal information floating around somewhere on the dark web in the hands of people with really bad intentions. Now, that might sound like a nightmare to some of you, but for thousands of Americans every year, it is a simple, unfortunate reality. Cyber attacks aren't just happening, they're growing, they're evolving, and if we don't keep up, if we don't stay informed, stay prepared, we risk being left vulnerable in a digital world that never stops moving. Now, I stand before you today not just as somebody who understands and studies cybersecurity, but as somebody who faces the same risk as all of you, as somebody who understands truly what is at stake here. I've spent time researching cyber threats, looking at how attacks unfold, and more importantly, how we can stop them. And here's what I've learned. If you have a phone, if you have a laptop, if you have any connection to the internet, cybersecurity isn't just an option, it's a necessity. So today, I want to walk you guys through three things. First, how the attacks are rising and what that means for you. Second, how these attacks happen because knowing the enemy is the first step to beating them. And third, finally, what you can do today to stay online safely. Now let's start with the facts. Cyber threats are growing, and they're not just targeting big corporations or government agencies. No, they're coming for individuals, small businesses, students, families, and all of the above. In 2015, a group called DD4BC launched massive cyber extortion campaigns using DDoS botnets. Their method? Start small. Start with a small attack, just enough to get attention, and then demand a ransom in Bitcoin to stop a much bigger one. And it proved to be an effective strategy. And it set a precedent for the cyber criminals that followed. But it's not just extortion. Data breaches are becoming more costly, both financially and legally. Under regulations like the General Data Protection Regulation, companies are required to protect consumer data. But if they don't, if they fail, they lose trust, they face lawsuits. And consumers, you and me, are the ones left dealing with the fallout. Identity theft, fraud, and years of financial recovery. So what do we do about it? And how do we fight back? Well, that brings me to my second point. Cyber threats are everywhere, and it's imperative that we understand them and we know how to prevent them. And if you don't recognize them, you can't stop them. Malware, phishing, social engineering, these aren't just fancy words. These are the weapons used to break into your accounts, steal your information, and exploit your trust. So let's break it down. What are some of the things that we can do? Update your software. That's not just about getting the latest features, it's about patching vulnerabilities that hackers use to break into your system. Antivirus programs. They're your first line of defense. If you can mentally compartmentalize them as bodyguards, then it's easier to understand their purpose. And public Wi-Fi, let's just say that if you're making a bank transaction at a coffee shop on an open network, you might as well just hand over your login info to the guy at the next table. Education is key. Training programs have shown that when people know what to look for, the success rate of cyber attacks drops significantly. And there's one simple tool that one too many people ignore that could stop most online breaches before they even start. And that's multi-factor authentication. Now, let me teach you guys on how to implement the best practices for cybersecurity. I'll tie this into a quick story. A while back, I got an email. It looked official. Had my bank's logo, said there was an issue with my account, and that I needed to log in to fix it. Now I knew better. The language felt urgent, the link looked a little off, and sure enough, when I checked with my bank directly by calling them, there was no issue. That email? It was a scam, a phishing attempt. Now I was lucky that I caught it, that I had a background in technology, but not everybody does. And that's why it's important to know the signs. If it sounds urgent, if it pressures you to act fast, take a second to slow down. If there's a link, hover over it before you click and see where it really leads. And if something seems suspicious, verify it. Call the company directly. And let's talk about passwords. We've all done it. Using the same passwords for multiple sites, making it simple enough to remember. But let me tell you, the harder it is for you to remember it, the harder it is for hackers to crack. Use unique passwords. Use a password manager. And if you have to, enable multi-factor authentication whenever you can. Because in a world where passwords are stolen every day, the extra layer of security can make all the difference. So, in conclusion, here's what I want you guys to take away from all of this. Cyber threats aren't slowing down. They're only getting smarter, bigger. And if we want to protect ourselves, if we want to safeguard our identities, our finances, our futures, we have to stay ahead. Understanding cyber threats, recognizing the warning signs, taking simple, smart, understanding cyber threats, recognizing the warning signs, taking simple, smart steps to secure our information. These aren't just good ideas, they're essential. Because at the end of the day, cybersecurity is the silent guardian of our digital world. And without it, the integrity of our personal identities, our businesses, even our national security is at risk. So let's do our part. Let's stay informed. Let's stay protected. And let's make the digital world a safer place for all of us. Thank you.